Welcome everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with us. You're watching Plain Speak with me, Shivani Gupta. Clashes, chaos and deaths. They've marked the Panchayat polls in the state of Bengal. Fresh violence has even been reported from some parts, even after polling. During the counting of ballots in Bhangar, clashes broke out, resulting in at least 3 fatalities and an injured police officer. In fact, police has reported that members of the ISF hurled bombs at the counting centre, leading to the police resorting to baton charges. The unending bloodshed in Bengal around elections has become a test case now. It is no longer sufficient in today's day and age to say that this is just the culture of violence in the state. And mind you, even the numbers are not coming down. BJP has alleged a complete breakdown of law and order in the state. Even the Congress and the left have criticized Mamata Banerjee and her government, claiming that violence has become the new normal in the state. Furthermore, both the Congress and the BJP have approached the Calcutta High Court, accusing the State Election Commission of non-compliance with its orders to deploy paramilitary forces at polling booths and counting stations. This High Court is seized of the matter, and we'll bring you more on that in just a bit. But the big question is, given the state of affairs, will accountability be set? And does the buck stop with the state election chief? We'll take that question to our guests in just a bit. So first up, Calcutta High Court has come down heavily on the Bengal poll panel chief Rajiv Sinha. It has gone on to say today the SEC had to work in tandem with central forces. If centre's report on the SEC is to be believed, then it shows a sorry state of affairs. Every day, new allegations are being made against the State Election Commission. Non-cooperation allegation is very disturbing. If the report is true, then highly unbecoming of the commissioner, which is Rajiv Sinha. It also went on to say, we think prima facie the deployment plan is not proper, and now they have said that the centre's coordinator will decide on the forces deployment for the next 10 days in the state. This is what the centre's report had said on Bengal SEC. No travelling and boarding facilities were provided to the central forces. Personnel was forced to travel 400 kilometers on and off. Support and response of the State Election Commission was found wanting. And most importantly, and possibly the most damning charge was that the State Election Commission did not provide them with sensitive booths info, which was exactly what they were there for. Parties are saying, the opposition is saying that this has rendered the whole point of the central forces defeated, which was also court mandated, by the way. A face-off has been continuing in the state between the opposition and the ruling TMC over alleged poll rigging as well. Remember, the visuals are extremely damning. Now, the BJP has steered into the TMC government, alleging that Panchayat polls are just a sham and poll rigging took place in around 6,000 booths. Congress too has targeted the Bengal government, saying the Panchayat polls have been reduced to a farce. Left has also hit out at the TMC, accusing it of, quote, murdering democracy in the state. What is the TMC's response? Well, Mamata Banerjee, the TMC chief and chief minister herself, spoke to the media today. She said that poll rigging charges are being spread by the BJP, which only spreads lies, and the opposition criticism benefited the TMC in this case. Because, of course, as far as the numbers are concerned, the TMC continues to be the numero uno party in the state of West Bengal. But the issue is not about who has won the Panchayat polls. It is about how they have been conducted. In 2023, is it acceptable for any state to have so much fear, death and absolute chaos when an election is going on? And this is routine in West Bengal. Why aren't they able to curb it? So that big question on the State Election Commission coming up, will accountability be set?
मुझे बताया गया कल काउंटिंग में भी हत्या हुई है, काउंटिंग में भी पीटा गया है. ममता जी, you have shamed the democracy in Bengal.
It is nothing but a state, West Bengal state government sponsored violence.
Agency একটা জিনিস আপনারা লক্ষ্য করুন, আমরা কি অপরাধ করেছি। আমি অপরাধ করলে আমার শাস্তি দিন, আমার কোনো যায় আসে না, আমি মামাটি মানুষের শাস্তি মেনে নিতে রাজি আছি। আমার যদি সত্যিই কোনো অপরাধ থাকে, যে অপরাধ মানুষ আমাকে দেবে আমি মাথা থেকে নেব।
Let's go across to our guest joining us, Shehzad Poonawala of the BJP with us in our studios. Rohan Mitra is from the Congress party. I'm also joined by Biswajit Deb, who's spokesperson of the TMC and lawyer himself. Mohammad Amin is former Joint Director, Election Commission of India, and I do thank all of you for your time. Let me begin with Shehzad first. Mamata Banerjee and the TMC continue to maintain that, if they were responsible for so much violence, why is it that the public continues to vote for them? And of course, that is the case even in these recent Panchayat polls.
If they see a victory of the TMC in what is a defeat of democracy, then I only can pity that this is the state of West Bengal today, which has transmutated from Mamati Manush to bomb, blast and booth capturing. Over 40 people have lost their lives. What is the TMC celebrating about? Over 20 to 30,000 booths have been captured. The fact of the matter is that even today the Calcutta High Court has castigated the State Election Commission for not following orders. The fact of the matter is that every election cycle from 2011 onwards has been marred by this violence, which is state sponsored, state incited, state protected, state patronized and institutionalized. The fact of the matter is today that people of West Bengal are asking that why is the situation reduced to this, and if it is just the BJP, it could be made, that allegation could be made. The fact is that the Congress party, whom they are friends with, Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, themselves have gone to court and have made serious allegations. But what is very worrying is that no franchisee of Mohabbat Ki Dukaan has opened up in West Bengal today.
Okay.
Despite these challenging circumstances, Shivani India, the fact is that the BJP has doubled its tally. But had this violence not marred the entire process, the BJP would have won these elections hands down. It is only through violence that the TMC can continue to even stay in
so
power.
you're saying that had it not been so much violence and fear atmosphere, you would have done much better. Whether you would have won or not, of course, your party will suggest it will. That's a separate issue. But before I go to Biswajit Devji as well, let me go to Rohan Mitra as well. The other argument that the TMC makes is that we are the ruling government, we are the ruling party. Why will we indulge in violence? Because it brings questions on us only, that this is all being done by the opposition.
Good evening, Shivani. The fact of the matter is, when the Trinamool says such things, before the elections, they said the Congress and the left were a big zero. We have nobody to support. There's no ground support for us. There's no vote for us. Partly true, because in 2021, we got a zero. So for them to accuse us of doing violence, let me just get to the facts first. In Murshidabad, where the Congress has done well, in Malda, where the Congress has done well, the people who have died in the Trinamool, they have died within the internal clashes of the Trinamool. The Trinamool district president versus the Trinamool MLAs, there have been inside battles which have been going on, because if you remember, the Trinamool only gave their nominations on the last day. The Trinamool was so scared to give their candidate list out because they knew what kind of clashes would happen.
Okay, fair enough, but come to my question.
They waited till the last day.
Rohan, come to my question. The ruling government or party, why will they indulge in violence? This is the TMC's argument, because ultimately it brings questions on them. And TMC is so comfortable in the state of West Bengal that they don't need to indulge in this. This is their argument.
No, their argument, they can argue a lot of things. Today, the CM has told the police, please go out and capture each and every person who's responsible for the violence. The state election, if the CM did not issue this, the only reason CM had to say this was because the police, under the State Election Commissioner, was protecting the Trinamool hoodlums, the people who are responsible for the violence, the Arabul Islams, the other characters who have been openly threatening people on your cameras, on various cameras. The police had to take steps right now after the CM has said, please go out and take the people who have been responsible for the violence under your captivity.
Okay, so
Before
you're saying
that, there was no activity. The State Election Commission has been mum. The High Court has picked up on the State Election Commission. Each and every point has been picked up on. And if you see, the BJP is saying a lot of things, but the BJP has failed. The central government has failed to provide the CRPF, which the High Court had ordered on the 18th of June. Since 18th of June,
but that's
today,
exactly the matter that is going on in the court, where
CRPF.
they're saying that the
That is not factually
SEC did not give them the information they needed.
the SEC did not give them the information they needed, but they kept quiet on this. Why on the 3rd of
I
July?
think Shehzad wants
when
to
the
comment
order
on
came
this
out
very
on the
quickly
18th
before I
of
go to
June.
our other guests as well on this issue, because this is an argument that the TMC has also made.
Let me clarify. Today's court's hearing, what the court has said. The responsibility to ensure that there is no breach of peace lies with the state government. It is the state government which is not in a position to safeguard its citizens. It's a serious matter. And by the way, nobody should be celebrating, because the court has also said that the elections and the declaration of the results will be subject to the ultimate orders of this court in this writ petition, where 50,000 booths being booth captured is being heard. By the way, the DIG BSF is on record. Our troops, 822 companies, reached much before in time, but they were not given the information about the sensitive booths, in the sense where are those sensitive booths, because of which the deployment could not take place. Where the deployment did take place, there was no violence. So it is for the TMC government to answer. Please, Mr. Rohan, I did not interrupt you.
No,
I understand your need.
I'm waiting for you to finish.
Mr. Rohan, I did not interrupt you.
Okay, continue. Let's not make personal comments. Continue.
I understand the Congress's need to play the B team of the TMC before the Bengaluru meeting. Today, instead of seeing the vote count, we are seeing the body count. The TMC is celebrating an election which has been marred to such an extent that today we are seeing how many people have died rather than how many votes were cast. That was the entire cycle was marred by this kind of violence and Loktantra ki loot, booth capturing. This is the nara of the elections that has come out from Rabindranath Tagore's
all right.
land.
Let me bring in Mr. Deb as well. Mr. Deb, you could win elections, but that does not justify the amount of violence that has taken place in the state. Why is the Chief Minister reacting today? And why is it that there are so many questions emerging on the State Election Commissioner? Certainly, as far as these local polls are concerned, the responsibility lies at his doorstep. Why is it that the TMC does not ensure that under their rule, this kind of violence does not happen?
Well, you see, the Chief Minister has addressed a press conference today explaining the entire thing and explaining how the opposition was responsible for this violence. Now, I would like to say, first of all, that we really thank the people of Bengal for having participated in this Panchayat election. But the other part of the entire story is this, that it is very unfortunate that the combined opposition led by BJP, that is BJP, CPIM, Congress and ISF, have tried to spread violence in some parts of Bengal. You see, out of the 60,000 booths, there were only 60 to 70 booths where there was violence. And this was provoked and perpetrated by BJP, CPIM, Congress.
But sir, the opposition is not in control of the state machinery. Sir, the opposition is not in control of the state machinery. I can argue that in this case, the SEC is. The SEC was also given additional forces by the centre. Why were they not properly used?
Please let me finish. The central force had been deployed under the orders of the High Court. And the central forces, unfortunately, did not act as per the requirement of the situation. The opposition parties were allowed to create nuisance. The hooligans were allowed to carry on with rampage in some pockets. I would like to say 60 to 70 booths. And the projection was given that the entire state is burning. That was a projection given by the media.
But sir, you look at the number of deaths. Okay, the entire state may not be burning. Of course, that cannot be the truth. But the amount of violence, the kind of violence, the fact that so many people have died. So the violence may be concentrated in some areas. That makes the job of the SEC and the state forces even easier. If it was concentrated in some places, look at the amount of damage that has been done to both life and limb.
Please let me finish.
Yes.
We condemn any type of violence whatsoever. We do not believe in violence. Trinamool Congress does not believe in violence, and any death, whichever party the person belongs to, is condemnable. We condemn that. But the problem is, this unfortunate situation arises out of the irresponsible activities of the opposition parties together. And I would like to say that this is most unfortunate that the opposition parties realized that people of Bengal are not supporting them. When they realize that they don't have base, when they don't have any
that's not
organization,
true actually. If you go by the results, I'm sorry to say this, if you go by the results, you cannot argue that the BJP support base is not increasing. They have done better than before. You could make that argument that the opposition has been rejected if their numbers had dropped. But that's not the case. No, no. But sir, that's not the argument here.
No, no, no.
The
The other way to argue is this.
the elections
When
can
you are
be
saying
won
this,
by anybody.
other way to
All
argue-
that people are
Yes.
saying is that they need to be free and fair. So one second, let me bring in Mohammed Amin, former Joint
Please let me
Director of
finish.
Election Commission
No,
of
no,
India.
you are-
Sir, I'll come back to
you are
you.
going on one-sided.
Sir, I'll
Let
come
me
back to you.
finish.
No, I'll come back to you.
Let
I'll
me
come back to
finish.
you.
Let me
Mohammed Amin,
You first
in
let me
this
finish.
situation, as far as Panchayat polls are concerned, it is only in the state of West Bengal, in today's day and age, I know there's a history, but in today's day and age, it's only in West Bengal we see this kind of violence out of any state in India, large or small. In this case, do you think the responsibility does lie with the State Election Commission and nobody else?
You can remember the assembly elections. At that time, Mamata Banerjee was blaming to the Central Election Commission. They are working under the Prime Minister and Home Minister directions. Now you can see everything is done by the state government, and our State Election Commissioner has responsible for this, as he has already requested for the security forces for the arrangements. So the High Court has already given the direction to provide the center to the security supports. And 22 battalions were there, and I've seen the TV interview of the DIG of BSF. Actually, in the meeting, always in the meetings we have the security staffs and the administration and others. So in that meeting, our CEO, I don't name is Mr. Sinha. He is the West Bengal CEO, and State Election Commissioner. He has not given any list properly and sensitive booth of list. We are giving at the time of the assembly election in the parliament in advance to the security staff, so that they were vigilant and they have the proper arrangement for these type of the happenings. And at that time assembly, there was one shot by our paramilitary forces. He was attacking at that time from Bengal side, Bengal civilians.
Right.
So, and at that time there were a lot of hue and cry about the election commission. Now you can see, and we can condemn this. 48 lives are there, means there 48 deaths is happened. It's very sad for the state of Bengal, and I'm always seen this. Always booths are looted, and the polling stations are disturbed, and they are bombarding, and they have pistol, and they have knives and everything attacked by our polling staff and polling parties. So it is not good for the Bengal. Maybe they have the election, won the election, but this is not the good election happened in the state of Bengal. And you see, last time you have seen that in UP, there was the hue and cry, but they have the good control about that. So now this responsibility is by the state government, chief secretary, home secretary, and their CEO of the
State Election Commission
conducting the election.
So can I just understand from you
in advance for the security arrangements?
Right.
Yes.
In fact, even the security arrangements of the central forces were actually, if I can use the term, forced down the throat of
He
the
has not
State
given
Election.
any independent.
Yeah, State Election Commission,
Yeah,
because
they
they
have
were
not given any
opposing the
role for
fact
that.
that central forces are being asked for by the High Court, and then that decision was ratified by the Supreme Court as well.
Shalini, I am going to tell you, Shalini, I am going to mention one more. Actually, these officers are local officers, are always their ruling party support, and the CEO is also means Chief Election Commissioner of the state is also supporting to the government. That's why you see that this type of attitude happen, and this is not fair from the election point of view.
Right.
All the in assembly and the parliament, we are always reviewing the local officers there, and we have our central forces, and we have our central observers.
Okay.
And we
Sir,
have
you're
the
making a
central,
very grave charge.
Election officers.
Sir, you're making a very grave charge that clearly the SEC is acting at the behest of the state government. That's exactly what the opposition is saying. Let me take that to Mr. Deb once again. Mr. Deb, here's a former election commission official who's saying that this is clearly the responsibility of the State Election Commission. You did not cooperate with the central forces, and you are acting that he is acting at the behest of the state government. Now, how do you respond to that? This is not coming from the opposition.
Problem is, there are some people who act on behalf of BJP, at the behest of BJP and at the behest of opposition. I don't want to reply to them. But the question is, these allegations, these false and malicious allegations, have been leveled against All India Trinamool Congress on a regular basis. But it is ultimately proved that the people of Bengal are with All India Trinamool Congress, people of Bengal are with Mamata Banerjee, people of Bengal are with Abhishek Banerjee. And BJP's slogan, "No vote to Mamata," has been turned out, and now it is Abhishek Banerjee's slogan.
Okay.
Now vote for Mamata.
Okay,
And
so
that
once
is
again, can I
exactly
just come in
what
here?
the people of Bengal did. And regarding violence, I'm again repeating that this violence has been provoked and instigated by the opposition, combined opposition led by BJP.
All right. Can I just come in here? Mr. Deb, please, I request your patience because we've got three other members on the panel as well.
This is to malign the party. This is to malign the state government. This is to malign the SEC.
Okay,
Okay,
Mr. Deb, please yield. I don't want to speak over you, but you know, Mr. Amin is a senior former joint director of the Election Commission of India. Shehzad, I'll come to you. I'm not sure if it is fair on your part to deem him an opposition voice. He's a professional in his regard. If you're going to turn anybody who speaks against you or questions you as some sort of a opposition voice, I don't think that's fair and a fair system. Also, I'm not sure what is the ratification. Sir, one second. Sir, I'll allow you, please. Also, the results in these elections are exactly what are under question and doubt. You cannot claim, you know, this high moral ground on the basis of the results when there are visuals coming in of people rigging polling booths. So that's the question here. But let Mr. Amin respond to you once again. Sir, Mr. Deb, I'll come back to you. Mr. Deb, I'll come back to you. Please, I request you. Mr. Deb,
that 63,000 booths cannot be rigged.
Of course
Is it
not.
possible?
Even if it is 10% of that, sir, it's a question which is what the BJP is. Sir, but I'll give you the time. Sir, please. Let others come in. Let Mr. Amin come in. Let our other opposition panelists also come in. Mr. Amin, I'll give you a minute if you want to respond to that.
Yeah. Shivani, you can remember at the time of the assembly election, Madam Mamata Banerjee was blaming to Election Commission and they were telling lots of charges against the, when she lost the election, after that by-election she win, and then before that 2 times she was the chief minister. So what is that? These are the officials, they were the security persons, and we were doing that job fairly. At that time everything was fair. When she is losing, then she and TMC is blaming to the, I am a spokesman of the BJP. How they can say?
No, that's not fair. That's not right.
Red herring. We should stick to the facts of the debate and not allow this to degenerate into personalized stuff.
48 deaths is there, and at the time of the assembly election, only one was shot by the secondary forces.
Okay.
And
yes.
he was
fair enough.
to the,
Can I just? Yes, I'll come. Yes, Shehzad, please
because
go
we
ahead.
run out of time, and I won't be able to, as a leading opposition party, articulate a lot of things that I need to still in this debate.
Yeah, please go ahead, Shehzad.
People of Bengal.
I think
Mr. Deb, not like this. Please lower his volume.
Indulgence of
Yes,
everybody
Mr.
on the
Shehzad.
panel.
Yeah,
First of all, let's forget Mr. Amin. The High Court today has said it is not clear why the Commission is not proactive, especially when the court has been monitoring the entire process and the first judgment was delivered on June 13. Is the court playing with the BJP? He said that all opposition parties are responsible for this mischief. Can Mr. Deb, who is the official spokesperson, show one FIR where the opposition parties have been named for the mischief or the violence? Or please tell me, in 2013 or in the 34 years of left rule, was the opposition creating this violence when used to allege the violence? Or please tell me, if the opposition is indeed responsible, the Congress, the left also, why are you going to Bengaluru? What is the answer to that? They are maligning Bengal, obviously. Finally, let me ask him specific questions. How many CCTVs were there in the booths? You were supposed to put it in every booth. How many CRPF or the central forces were given the information of sensitive booths? Give us the number. Why were civil volunteers deployed when they were strictly said no? 50-50 proportion of state forces and central forces was told by the High Court. In how many booths did you actually manage to do that? Because the law and order, as opposed to a Vidhan Sabha election, was with you. Right. It was not with the Central Election Commission or with the State Election Commission. It was with Mamata Banerjee. So please tell us the specific answers to this.
You are talking so much about Bengal. You are bent upon to insult Bengal. You are bent upon.
Sir, 45 Bengalis have died. I think there is no bigger insult than that.
Tripura? What did you did in Tripura? 90% seats went uncontested. Abhishek Banerjee's convoy was attacked. All opposition parties.
Is that your answer right now?
Where was your central team?
So is that the answer, Mr. Deb?
Where was your central
Mr.
force?
Deb, is that the answer?
Whatever is happening in your rule states, in Uttar Pradesh, in Madhya Pradesh, in Tripura, then there is no central
Sir,
force.
I think with due respect, I don't think the situation that has transpired in Bengal over the last 40 years or what has happened even in these Panchayat elections can be compared to any other state. Your point about Tripura, well taken. Yes, Rohan, final comments from you.
You know, the point which Shehzad was making, that the CRPF was not deployed as the Central Election Commission did not take it up, the State Election Commission, sorry. Let me put it there. The CRPF was deployed where the BJP has put its nominations. The BJP has kept away from the Muslim dominated areas. And if you see the violence in Bhangar, in Murshidabad, in Malda, these are the areas where the Muslims population is higher. And these were the areas where the opposition led by the Congress and the left front was stronger. And this is
Are you
where
suggesting
the
that the
maximum
central
violence had happened.
forces, the
Let me
BSF
finish,
and others were working at the
Let him finish
instructions
his
of the
point. Then
BJP?
let him
No, is
finish
there
his
any
point.
basis
I want to
this
understand what
allegation?
he's saying. What is the point about Muslim-dominated areas, Rohan?
No, that's what I'm coming to.
Yeah.
The point was Murshidabad, Bhangar, where the maximum casualties have happened.
Yes.
Malda, these are the places where the Muslim population is higher.
So what
These
does
were
that
the places
mean?
let me finish. Where the BJP has not filed any nomination.
What does that have to do with the
violence and
security of those
CRPF
areas?
wasn't there to protect the
But that's the
opposition
job
over
of the
there.
SEC. That's
May I-
the job
It was
of
the
the
job of the-
SEC.
it was the
Or to
job
deploy
of-
the central
May I
forces
just
where
have
they're
5
needed.
seconds?
What does the BJP have to do with
Why
that?
is it just a job of the SEC? It was a High Court mandate.
That's precisely the job of the SEC which has come under question. You and I
just
can't
have
decide
5
who should
seconds?
decide that. That's the protocol. Yes, Shahzad, very quickly, I have 30 seconds.
You know, when you call people who are fly-by-night operators, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary has also not said this. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary is on record to say that it was the local administration which has to provide the information to the central forces. The central forces don't know the lay of the land. They can only be guided by the SEC towards the sensitive
they knew
booths.
the local- they
And
knew the
therefore,
guide
Mr.
where the
Rohan,
BJP
I
was
know you
there.
must be
No, where the
pitching for
BJP
another
was
Rajya
there.
Sabha
Let's
from
not fight over
TMC,
each other.
but at least articulate the position of the Congress if you are here to represent the
Let's
Congress.
not fight over each other. Yes, Congress
Congress is very clear what it wants to do.
The correct picture.
Yes.
This is exactly what has happened.
Please don't speak over each other. Please don't speak over each other. As it stands, the SEC was supposed to deploy the forces. That is clear. It was asked for by the High Court and the Supreme Court. And today the High Court has again asked the SEC if it did the job right. Yes, Mr. Dev, I'll give you 20 seconds. Please speak. Mr. Dev.
Central forces allowed BJP to carry on with this rampage. They allowed the opposition parties to carry on with this rampage. They could have easily stopped them.
Okay.
Why didn't they?
Let the
perform
High
their
Court decide. Ultimately, the courts will have to step in and they will have to decide because there are a lot of charges and counter charges. I've run out of time. I do thank all of our guests for joining us for our talk debate. Slipping into a very short break. On the other side, we'll get to the other big story that's creating quite a bit of row. 28% GST on online gaming. The industry has reacted sharply, calling it disastrous. Is this the right move? We'll get you more on the other side.
Here in West Bengal. Well, starting from the day of the nomination, he says it was so peaceful, nothing went wrong. Although we saw the hurling of bombs and everything, which was visible on the media. But hurling of bombs, some gunshots, few people dying is a casual affair for them. They don't care about it. So from the day of nomination to the day of voting, to the day of deployment of the CAPF, to the day of counting, and the current situation where the post-poll violence is visible on the ground. There is a visible defiance from the TMC, and the court held the State Election Commission responsible for the same today. In the order of the Honorable High Court, they said that the State Election Commission is responsible for whatever has happened because there has been complete non-compliance of the order by them. They did not comply to the order of the High Court. Even today, the Honorable High Court said that they made the central forces, that the CAPF people sit in the barracks instead of deploying them or instead of giving the list of the sensitive places where they could go. They did not even give them transportation. All this was said just a few hours back, although I am part of the petition. So I am being able to guide you more on that. Thereafter, it has been said by the Honorable Court today that from tomorrow itself, all the central forces which have been stopped for another 10 days in West Bengal, they will be, deployed in areas which are violence-prone areas, and they know it very well. The biggest violence-prone area, to your shock, if I say, it is Diamond Harbour, which is the constituency of Abhishek Banerjee.
Bring in Mr. O.P. Rawat, who's the former Chief Election Commissioner of India. He's joining me on the broadcast, and the attempt is to understand the protocol with the Election Commission when it is about polling in any state or in the country. Mr. Rawat, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast. I first like to welcome you and understand, do you see something clearly amiss when it is about the role of the State Election Commission over what has happened in the state of West Bengal?
Actually, the local elections are always bitterly fought, not only in West Bengal, but most of the states. Because the stakes are too high for the local populace and the governance issues at the local level, they cause all these stresses and strains at the time of elections. But any violence is really unfortunate, whether it is elections or otherwise. There should be a strict protocol like Election Commission of India for legislative and parliament elections. They have a protocol that all sensitive, critical, hypersensitive booths will be identified. The policing arrangements with central paramilitary force will be deployed. Police observers will be deployed. All those arrangements are there, and they have published a manual also on these kind of issues. If those arrangements are in place, violence can be mitigated. Like in Bihar elections earlier, it used to be really very violent, but starting 2015, you see that there has been not a single case of violent incident there during legislative assembly election.
Mr. Rawat, I'd like to understand, while you say that, when you talk about the sensitive areas, the sensitive booths, even after the direction of the High Court, the Calcutta High Court, do you see that that entire protocol, that process was followed duly by the State Election Commission? Because what is being claimed is otherwise by the opposition in the state of West Bengal.
I will not enter into politics because elections have replaced wars and battles for deciding the successor to rule. So I won't go into that area. But because High Court directed at the time when we were in the thick of it, when campaigning was on. So at that time, when when the building is burning, you don't look for the water holes. That's the thing. So it has to be done well in advance, plan it, identify the critical, sensitive, hypersensitive booths, and deploy the forces which induce faith and confidence of all stakeholders in the arrangements. And that really prevents the violence.
Mr. Rawat, why I asked you that question is because even after the intervention of the court, there was a retaliatory plea that was put forth at the Calcutta High Court because the state government and the State Election Commission were not happy with the order of deployment of central forces in West Bengal. Do you think that also formed as a deterrent and that's why the violence could not really stop?
I won't be able to comment on that.
Okay.
But basically the preparedness beforehand and deployment of forces according to that strategy with proper identification of all these sensitive and critical areas would have really prevented.
Okay.
But nothing much could have been done after you are in it.
Okay. All right. Mr. O.P. Rawat, thank you so much and appreciate you joining us on Viewpoint and giving your time on the broadcast. And on that note, let me open this debate further to my panel who's joining me this evening. Priyanka Tibrewal of the BJP, Chandan Ghosh Chaudhary of the Bengal Congress, and JP Majumdar of the TMC is with us on the broadcast. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us on the broadcast. Let me actually begin with JP Majumdar, since it's your government in the state of West Bengal. I'd like to first draw viewers' attention to the figure that's been quoted by the Chief Minister in the state. 19 deaths is what she's claiming as the official number of casualties that have come out as far as the pre and post-poll violence, which are still continuing unabated in the state of West Bengal. But what will the TMC say about what else could have been done so that this could have been avoided?
Revolution.
Thanks a lot for staying with us. The other big story we're debating is how the central government's move to set 28% GST on online gaming, casinos and horse racing has created a row. The move was announced by the Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman. This is being seen as a blow to the online gaming industry, which is currently valued at about $2.6 billion and is expected to reach $8.6 billion by 2027, so in another 5 years. Finance Minister Sitharaman has, of course, said that the move is not aimed to hurt any industry and that the government does not intend to shut down these industries as well. The decision was made, of course, by the apex decision-making body of the GST, which comprises of Finance Minister from the central government and, of course, representatives from all states and union territories as well. So, in a way to suggest that this is not just a unilateral call of the central government. The All India Gaming Federation has issued a statement calling this decision unconstitutional, irrational and egregious. The federation has argued that the 28% GST rate will be a major disincentive for the growth of the gaming industry. So just to bring you up to date, what is it that has been changed? There's a 28% GST tax that has been imposed on full face value of the transactions and not just on the platform fees, which was earlier being suggested. The 30% TDS is also going to be levied on net winnings of those who participate in these games or esports. And the 10,000 rupee threshold which was there has now been removed. As I mentioned, the Online Gaming Federation is not happy. They have gone on to say that this is a self-goal that will kill online gaming industry. The GST Council decision not in national interest is what they're saying. They've also called it unconstitutional, irrational and egregious. And they have also said that this could lead or will lead to lakhs of job losses. Now that claim is also under question. The centre has defended this move by saying that the agenda is not to kill the industry. All sorts of business have to be kept alive as far as they are concerned. Casinos in Goa and Sikkim yield a lot of revenue for two small states. It is not so much our position, but every state felt that this decision should be taken. So the big debate that's coming in as far as this 28% tax on online gaming is concerned, could it mean game over for the industry?
Betting, gambling and lotteries are already in it. We will be including online gaming also into it. And horse racing. As a result, that actionable claim has this amendment which will be affected now. And therefore, they will be taxable, and therefore the council spent quite some time today deciding on, yes, they are taxable, on what? Therefore, full face value. Yes, they are taxable, how much? 28%.
Going across to the guest joining us, Roland Landers is CEO of All India Gaming Federation. Ajay Rotti is founder and CEO of Tax Compass. Nikhil Pava is joining us as founder Media Nama. And NS Napinai is founder Cyber Sati Foundation. I do want to go across to Roland first because you are the industry voice on the show. We know what the industry has already said, but can I just understand from you, what were the deliberations that you had with the government and what is it that you plan to do now that this move has been ratified?
No, so the deliberations we've had have been in the run-up to the to yesterday, which is making representations with the various stakeholders, including the group of ministers and the various stakeholders within the FinMin, and yeah, so all those representations were made, highlighting the impact on the industry and also showcasing what are best practices that are employed both in terms of the rate of taxation and the valuation.
And what is it that Roland you're planning to do now?
So we plan to while we speak, the internal stakeholders are evaluating from a industry-wide perspective, but we are hopeful in the sense that we have to also keep in mind that the government has been extremely supportive of the industry over the last 1.5 years. I'm talking about the center. And this entire efforts that are being put in to form a regulation under a nodal ministry, which is extremely positive, and and hence we are hopeful that that a progressive regime is considered.
Okay.
If this can be relooked at and a progressive regime, a tax regime that not only fulfills the objective of getting higher taxation, but also supporting the industry to grow to its potential. Because that's the industry has delivered over the last 5 years. Continues to need support.
No, so can I just ask you a follow-up before I go to my other guests? You're saying that you want something that can be arrived at, which is both in the realm of high taxation, but also something that works for the industry. So what is that tax slab that you're comfortable with? Roland.
Yeah, so it's not what we are looking at. I would like to allude to the GOM report, the second GOM report that suggested a tax of 28% on the platform fee or gross gaming revenue.
Okay.
That was in the GOM report.
All right. So you're saying instead of the full face value, it should be on the platform fee. Mr. Rotti, I'm coming to you. Would that have been the righter thing to do? And also, how do you look at the government's argument that, see, this is not a unilateral decision they have taken. This is a decision that has been taken by the GST Council, and everybody's, majority approval has gone into this.
Yeah. So, on the second bit, yes, of course, that's how GST functions, because GST Council makes the recommendation. GST Council has representations from union and state. So without getting into whether there's logic in that or not, because tax rates are what they are, as long as they have the powers to do it, we don't need to be searching as to why they would do, but I'll come to that in a minute again. But really the issue is not just on the rate. There are two parts, and Roland did speak about it. One is, just to take an example, if there are two people who are playing a game and there are 1,000 rupees each they are putting, and then they take home, the winner takes home 2,000. And the platform holds back 200 rupees out of those 2,000 as a fees. Thus far, what was happening is that 200 was being subject to GST at 18%, because it was a normal game of skill, is what most of the industry used to take. And therefore, that's where the tax was. What has been proposed now is that the entire 2,000 rupees itself will be liable to GST, and at a higher rate of 28%. I think the issue is largely on the tax base and the base that is being used for tax, rather than the rate by itself. And this is again not a new issue. This has been there for a while. The first report of the group of ministers was placed before the 47th meeting in June 22. Thereafter, they were asked to relook at certain issues. Even yesterday, when the FM mentioned, she said that there's no consensus on whether the full value has to be taxed or the platform fee has to be taxed. But, they've taken a decision to tax the entire value. Now, there could be some legal challenges mounted here, whether they can charge, because that's not a consideration for supply of service or goods. Therefore, how can you bring the entire amount to tax? So there will be issues. I think this is going to this is not the last that we are hearing on this.
Right.
And so far as whether it was the right thing to do, I think this is going to hurt the industry. There's no doubts about that, because there will be some implementation challenges in addition to all the stress that's going to be there on cash flows and the profitability of the sector itself, and whether people will participate with such high taxes. I think we'll have to wait and see, because the other thing is, what's announced now is just the recommendation of the GST Council. How these amendments will come, we'll have to wait and see, and thereafter there could be some legal challenges mounted, and courts will come into play.
Okay, so you're saying there's still a little bit of time before some sort of deviation or correction can be done?
Yes, there is. Of course, there is.
Okay. Nikhil Pava, can I bring you in? It's been made to sound that this will be the death knell of the online gaming industry. That not only will this mean that its growth is impacted to a level where it will die, that it will also lead to a lot of job losses. Now, is there also not a little bit of hyperbole?
Oh, completely, because you see, online gaming is a very vast global industry. Most games, in fact, do not charge money to play. You might, let's say, buy an additional round of a game for money.
Yeah.
So, look, we need to separate gaming from what is now being called online real money gaming, because effectively it's more of wagering. You're putting money with the intent of earning money back.
Yes.
Most games in the world today, and there are billions of games out there, do not expect you to play it because you expect to earn money back.
True.
So this is not going to hurt the gaming industry either in India or in the world. This is probably going to hurt the online real money gaming industry, which was anyway a very overheated sector. I mean, you look at the kind of ads that many of these players were running, and and I'm not painting everyone to the same brush. There are responsible and there are irresponsible companies here, and many of them were offering, that someone's won X amount of money or X percentage of returns. What we saw with crypto earlier. So, if people were playing just because the objective of earning money and not because of gaming, which is an entertainment industry, then I think equating that with gaming is wrong.
Okay.
But also, if that is being taxed, if you're basically doing this to earn money, then I think we also needed to take the heat out of the sector because, in states like Tamil Nadu, Telangana, there have been suicides and there have been loan apps that have been giving people loans which are being used to, again, play some of these real money gaming. So there is,
so you're saying there is a moral argument here? That there is a moral argument here, which the government also seems to be indicating.
Also definitions, Shivani, also definitions, right?
Yeah.
Gaming is different from this real money gaming stuff that they're talking about.
Right.
This is more similar to gambling. In gambling, there is no skill involved. In some real money games, as they're called, there is skill involved. There are games of skill, there are games of chance. We need to make sure that there's a clear understanding, because even the central government regulation that's come in does not distinguish between games of skill and games of chance.
No, so that's the other argument that the industry is making, that you should have differentiated between games of skill and games of chance. Very quickly, Nikhil, before I go to Napinai as well.
Well, absolutely. I think this, but I don't think this is a matter for courts now to basically, because there are courts that are determined what's a game of skill and what's a game of chance. I'm not sure whether the government has the ability to do that.
If I have it correct, and I spoke to MOS Rajiv Chandrasekhar when the gaming rules had been notified, they have instituted an industry body to go case by case on every game. Every game needs to get an approval of that industry body, and that industry body will ratify whether it's a game of skill or chance and whether that game can be deemed addictive. So that exercise is happening parallelly.
I don't think it is the remit of the center to determine what is a
not the center, it's the industry body.
So, but the centers is allowing an industry body to do so.
Yes.
And that's not the right approach here. The other thing is, frankly, the rules that the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology have come out with, they create an entire regulatory framework around online real money gaming.
Yes.
But the IT Act doesn't really allow them to do this in the first place. So I would actually, as someone was talking about the constitutionality of this GST, I'm questioning the constitutionality of the rules that the government has come out with.
All right.
I think the finance ministry has done a rational, right thing over here.
Okay.
The Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has a lot to answer for about how they've been making rules after rules without actually having the legal basis for it.
All right, I'll leave that aside for now because that's not technically what we're discussing. But on the issue of taxation itself, Napinai, what's your view? The government is facing a lot of heat over this, and they've added horse racing. They've obviously added, gambling, casinos, and online games also. Should they have at least differentiated between online gaming and the others?
Before I start a small qualifier, I've literally landed into this debate now. So please don't treat whatever I'm saying as a final opinion, but just as a preliminary take from whatever I've seen. On the face of it, these are my few points I wanted to make. One, as the speakers before me have already pointed out, was the GST Council within its rights to make this change or increase the slab? They were very well within their rights. Is there likely to be an impact on the industry? Yes, but is it going to close it down? Certainly not. We always tend to overreact, particularly when it comes to taxes and slabs. And I think in this particular instance, it's clearly a little bit of an overstatement on that. Finally, the last point which you raised is what I wanted to emphasize. We've been talking about the delineation in terms of game of skill and game of chance, fully forgetting that that delineation became relevant when it came to the issue in terms of implementing certain laws, which ban games of chance,
gambling,
like lotteries, etc.
And
under the Lotteries Act, you had to go only through the processes which are permissible for you to run a lottery, like through a government-enabled agent, etc.
Yes.
So when we talk about this delineation and taxation, technically the same thing may not apply. So merely stating it as a superficial thing may not really help the industry. As I think some excellent points were made by all the speakers before me, and as Nikhil was pointing out too, merely saying about game of skill and game of chance is not really going to help the industry. If there is a tax slab for offline, real-time, real money gambling, and if you are passing off a game which is technically just real money gambling, and if they are being treated on par, merely because the domain is different is not going to help the industry create a delineation.
So you're saying because casinos are taxed at a certain rate, this is the issue that came up in the GST Council also, that the casinos make a lot of money for some states, they are taxed at a certain rate, why not these online games too? Isn't it? That's what you're suggesting?
I'm just saying that merely because you're an online game, you don't get any differential
treatment.
Treatment. If you're being treated on par, and all I'm saying is do not mix up the delineation that why go only to the Karnataka High Court judgment that the industry has quoted. Go back to the origin in Chamarbagh Gala. The delineation was for a very different purpose. It was in terms of what is actually illegal versus legal.
What is legal in India? Because betting is not legal in India.
The intermediary guidelines have been made legal, and that was a natural step. And I think the industry was expecting even then that they were going to be facing a higher slab.
Okay.
And today, the issue is really between whether you want to claim it as direct or indirect taxes. And if you balance it out, and if you look at global trends also, I won't say we are that far off the mark.
Yes, I think most of the levies in other countries is similar on earnings especially. It differs a little bit, but I think the point is about platform fees versus full face value, as our experts have pointed out. I'll come back to that issue. But Roland, I would just want to come back to you. What is, do you think, the main issue for you here and the impact of this?
The impact, yes. The impact is what I wanted to highlight on. The impact is across the ecosystem. So game development, gamer and gaming platform. Okay. For the gamer, his participation fee or entry fee is going to go up by 300% or 3x. If this new valuation method is employed.
300% you're saying, yes.
So that is the impact on the gamer. The impact on the gaming platform is that the movement from the valuation from GGR methodology to face value, as indicated in the press con yesterday, makes it an upside of 1100%. 1100% movement from GGR level of valuation to the face value. Okay. And what that would render is that for a gaming platform, the tax payable would be higher than the platform revenue.
Okay.
And so what will happen is that for the gamer, inadvertently, he would try to veer towards, illegal gambling sites that are unfortunately available, offshore, sites, which everyone is aware of, because they are not paying taxation. So this could be one of the outcomes.
Okay, so once again, if I just want to clarify this, you're saying that 28% on the platform fees was acceptable to you. It is particularly the 28% on the entire face value which is creating this issue, right?
That is what if that happens, the impact I just explained to you is something that seems improbable to absorb or factor in. I mean, forget online gaming. Any other industry would
not be able to do it. Okay. Mr. Rotti, you concur with that face value issue is the major one and it could upset the industry. Nikhil, I'll come to you next. Yes, Mr. Rotti.
Yeah. Yes, I would completely agree. And I think the issue is not just from a commercial or commercial sustainability or viability perspective. I think there's a legal issue as well there. Because, just getting a little technical on lotteries GST is applicable where lottery is treated as a goods. And on gambling, it's applicable because that says a service. So there's a higher rate, but those two are applicable. Now, if you fit this into any of those, then you need to be bringing the tax only what is for the service or the supply, which is really the platform fees. Now, I'll take an absurd example. If somebody walks into a casino, pays 1 lakh rupees and takes chips. Now, if 28% is applicable, 1 lakh becomes 128%. Therefore, he gets chips for about 78,000 rupees. What happens if he doesn't play and he goes back and surrenders the chip? Does he get back 78,000? Because he's paid 1 lakh rupees, he's not even used that, which is practically possible. So how would you levy tax on money which does not even belong to the platform? Because the platform has no lien on these amounts, whether it's the platform or the casino. So I think the big challenge and the issue is only on the basis of taxation. The rate could be 30%, 40%. I don't think anybody can challenge that rate. The GST Council has the powers. It's constitutionally valid. They could bring it in. I think the base used for taxation is what will be subject to challenge in my view.
Yes. And Nikhil, the other issue that, for example, Roland has brought in is that this could encourage gamers to go to illegal platforms or offshore platforms. Again, do you think that that is a real concern here?
It could be, but there are other issues that come with that, because then there could be money laundering and various other things that come. And I don't think migration there would be that easy, but it could happen. I'm not ruling that out, but that could be.
Mr. Roti, thank you. But that was for Nikhil Pava. Yes.
So let me address that. I think most of us play games on our phones today. We don't pay money for it. I think there needs to be a very clear distinction that this is not going to impact gamers in this country. It's not going to impact gaming in this industry. So by repeatedly saying it doesn't make it happen. It's going to impact a handful of companies and a handful of players that are playing these games for money. That's all it is going to impact. So, let's not obfuscate the issue by equating it with the gaming industry this world or in this country as such. That's a very different ecosystem.
All right.
I think that in my opinion, the finance ministry has done the right thing, but I would agree that the distinction between getting taxed on the entire amount that you're putting in versus what you're winning is going to be a bone of contention, and that's probably going to get taken up.
Okay.
But we also need to realize that this industry needs to first gain legitimacy by having a proper law that enables it. There is no law right now.
Unfortunately, I've run out of time.
In all conversations, everyone's equating this with gambling, by the way. You're talking about casino. Even the GST Council in its rulings has equated it in gambling and taxation at least.
I've run out of time, but this is certainly an issue we will continue to keep an eye on, and complexities that are with it. I thank our guests for joining us. We're getting some breaking updates also coming in. Balasore train accident case update that is coming in is that Railway has suspended 7 of its staff after its CRS report. Duty station master, traffic inspector, technician, along with those who were arrested by the CBI have been suspended. My colleague Akash is bringing us more details. Akash.
So Shivani, in this particular case, we know that this was the deadliest accident, and just few days back we heard that how CBI has arrested 3 of the officials, in fact the section engineer and 2 other individuals. But now it is coming from Railways, where Southeastern Railways has in fact suspended 7 of its officials. And it is important to mention that on-duty station master has been suspended as well. Now, you must be remembering the time when we, in fact, here on CNN News 18, accessed that particular report and, informed our viewers that how in the CRS report it has been categorically mentioned that there were multiple lapses in the SLT department that led to the particular incident. However, it was also mentioned that had it been the case that station master had actually flagged the abnormalities in the panel, this accident could have been averted.
Right.
But now we are learning that 7 of the officials from Indian Railways have been suspended, and on-duty station master and traffic inspector are the 2 important posts that are somewhere responsible for the operations of the trains. And, 7 of the officials as of now have been suspended in this case.
All right, Akash, I do appreciate you bringing us those updates. This is, remember, a very important inquiry. The outcome of it and what is eventually the accountability set is going to be very important for Indian Railways for future as well. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Plain Speak. My colleague Anand is joining you on the right stand.
অনেক এজেন্সি। একটা জিনিস আপনারা লক্ষ্য করুন, আমরা কি অপরাধ করেছি? আমি অপরাধ করলে আমায় শাস্তি দিন, আমার কোনো যায় আসে না, আমি মামাটি মানুষের শাস্তি মেনে নিতে রাজি আছি। আমার যদি সত্যিই কোনো অপরাধ থাকে, যে অপরাধ মানুষ আমাকে দেবে আমি মাথা থেকে নেব।
মমতা বন্দ্যোপাধ্যায় নেতৃত্বাধীন সর্বভারতীয় তৃণমূল কংগ্রেসকে বিপুলভাবে সমর্থন জানিয়ে বিরোধীদের পরিকল্পিত সন্ত্রাস লক্ষ্যবিন্দু করে নিয়ে প্রাণহানি ঘটিয়েছে। তারা বুঝে গেছিল যে তারা ভয়ঙ্করভাবে হারবে।
बताया गया कल काउंटिंग में भी हत्या हुई, काउंटिंग में भी पीटा गया है। कई बार लोग जीत गए, जीतने के बाद कहा गया कि तृणमूल में ज्वाइन करो नहीं तो तुमको सर्टिफिकेट नहीं मिलेगा। ममता जी, यू हैव शेम्ड द डेमोक्रेसी।
It is nothing but a West Bengal state government sponsored violence. Goons belonging to the ruling party have been unleashing a reign of terror.